Hello and welcome back to Talkin Pitch Side. I'm your host PJ with my co-host Tony, as always, here to cover all things World Cup and MLS. Tony, I would normally start with World Cup action, but I think there is actually one story I do want to
Mm.
just touch on first because it's a pretty significant one in the MLS world, and
What's
I do want to just
MLS?
maybe just a rapid
Yeah.
take. Give me something quick. Your reaction to it. Robert Lewandowski. That's been kind of a name thrown around a lot for MLS, especially Chicago for the past year, and it's happening. It is already confirmed. It's deal signed. He's going to be in Chicago next week doing the full media storm. He is going to be a Chicago player come July for the Chicago Fire, which now opens up so many different questions, which we'll get into once the World Cup's over. But Robert Lewandowski, the player, my take is dude still has gas in the tank. I think it's a great signing for Chicago in terms of winning now, which is good for that fan base and I think exciting. And I think he's the type of player you want to have on your team when you're opening a new stadium here soon. Like that's just like a name to go along with it. And the type of person you want to bring in post World Cup to bring a little momentum and hype into that city for soccer. So all around, I mean, I think he's just going to score goals. Like that's what he does. Like he's going to show up score goals, but it's like the same guy Hugo Kuiper is basically. So we'll see how that all
Yeah.
works.
Yeah. I was gonna say that was my first reaction. Was great for Chicago. Man, that's gonna be interesting from a roster perspective. What that's all gonna look like. Do they move on with Kuipers? Does Lewandowski play the same role? Does he look a little bit different? All that stuff, which is going to be really fun to dive into when we get there. But I agree, it's a great thing for momentum. Chicago's not totally like out of the say when it comes to some of these stars coming to the league. Like honestly, this is as big as Schweinsteiger. Probably, actually, it's bigger than Schweinsteiger. But that's the last like notably like big
Shakiri.
name that Shakiri kind of he was on the
Yeah.
way. He was on the way down.
I mean, all these. I mean,
I mean,
Lewandowski
yeah,
is too, but
correct. Yeah,
it's a
I
different
but
type
I
of player.
yeah
What he's succeeded, what he's done at club and country level, is outweighs anything anyone. I mean, Schweinsteiger's there on par with him in terms of
right.
that, like the accolades, but from like best strikers of the generation, this guy's almost unlucky to be in the same generation as Ronaldo and Messi because he's been like third in every stat, basically scoring
Yeah,
wise, behind these guys through the past like 20 years. So I mean, that's just the type of player you're getting, and he still was like producing in the last 2 years for Barcelona at a high
Barcelona.
level.
Yep,
Like
you're right.
this guy's not coming from like a wash standpoint. He's coming from a hey, I just want to play some more and have a different lifestyle, and he's gonna be able to do that in Chicago while probably scoring a ton of goals for a team that's going to make the playoffs this year and going to make a push. That
Yeah,
should be really exciting.
yeah. It makes them really exciting, and obviously, like you said, it's been a good season for them so far. It's hard to remember that. Like it just feels like the first half of the MLS season was almost like a fever dream, and now we're
Yeah.
just in World Cup. We're gonna come back and be like, oh yeah, Chicago's in a playoff spot. Oh yeah, like all these things, and be like, I'm like, I said like, what is MLS? And I'm like, actually, like honestly, what is it gonna look like? And just like we've already seen rumors of other movement and stuff, and it's just like when we get back, this thing's gonna look very different, and it's gonna be
Yeah, you're
exciting. Sorry, I'm watching Netherlands almost score here, but yeah,
you're about to see. I mean, in 3 weeks is basically the start of the MLS season again, which is crazy to say out loud.
nuts.
But there's gonna be a lot of movement over the next 3 weeks. Like this is where the transfers are gonna start happening, especially as now the group stage is winding down. People are gonna get knocked out of the World Cup. Like you're going to start seeing names and transfers start get solidified. So should be an exciting time over the next like month for MLS
Yes,
transfers
very
as it
much
is.
so.
So keep an eye on it. Let's recenter back to World Cup. I texted in chat. I am itching to get back in the Bailey at FCC game or something. Like it's just
Mm,
like I'm such a sicko. Like I'm watching the World Cup right now in my own country, and I'm like, ooh, but like
end it.
Vander like through ball is kind of getting me going right now.
Right.
What I'm a sicko. But let's circle back to World Cup. We've got USA. We were recording during the last episode, which that ended up being a loss for the U.S. men's national team on the last kick of the game against Turkey. Good fight in the second half to come back, and Berhalter gets that early goal. And you think that hey, this is all building towards us getting a winner, which we should have. Like that. That's kind of my take out of it. We dominated almost most of that second half, besides a few chances. I mean, Turkey had 3 shots on goal and all 3 went in that game, and that was like Pulisic had a few chances at the end. Brendan Aronson missed a wide open net. Austin Trusty had a flying header where he was the only guy on the ball and hit it over the bar. Lots of chances created. So still in that trend for the U.S. where even with these backups in this game, you still saw that aggressiveness, which I think is a positive takeaway to take out of that game. Negatives is like that was a momentum type of situation you could have built upon. But we talked about it. We wanted to see it. I think from the fan base perspective, like the casual perspective, I think it would have been great to win that game just from everyone to get really hyped. I haven't seen the hype levels really drop off. I honestly think it's happened more because everyone was told that game didn't matter, like in the grand scheme of things, and then you had to wait another whole week till the not real
Yeah.
knockout game. So I have felt a little air come up from underneath the wings of the U.S. Men's national team only because it's been so long since like a game like which is a good thing. Like it's a good
Sure.
thing that we had
Yeah.
that situation that was in. But I haven't felt like tense watching the U.S. Men's national team in a while now, and I'm like ready for Wednesday to hit me like a truck with how nervous I'm going to get for that game, especially. But I think I'm really convinced myself to not take too much out of that game when you're missing basically the spine of that team, because you're sitting them for reasons just to keep everyone healthy, yellow cards, whatever. I mean, we've seen so much success out of the fullback position, the center back position, Tyler Adams, Balogun, Pulisic. None of those guys played for majority of that game. And you can just tell, like watching it, we were saying in the live episode last week, like the play through the fullbacks has been so key to this team, and the center attacking mid's playing off that, and it wasn't there. Like respectfully, Joe Scally, Austin Trusty, you just aren't the same guys as Anthony Robinson and Serginho Dest when
Yeah.
it comes to attacking. And I think then playing Weston at the 8 was also just not super helpful in this game. Like we've seen that doesn't really work for the system that we play in with him specifically. He's much better in that 10 role. So I really do think we're just gonna put everyone back in. I would be shocked to see it look as good as it has in the first 5 minutes in these other games because there's been a layoff for a lot of these guys now, so it might take like a second or two to get into it. It's just about neutralizing that 5 to 10 minutes so you don't get scored on because of that. So I feel good. I feel confident coming into this game, and I'm really excited to see this team on Wednesday.
Yeah. I mean, all in all, at the end of the day, like you said, like when a game that ultimately doesn't have anything riding on it, like you have to rotate. There's drawbacks to that for sure, but
You saw it
the
across
worst
World
thing,
Cup.
yeah, right. You saw it across the World Cup, and I mean, I just don't know how you're a manager and you live with if one of your starters did get hurt in that game, how you
Or
explain
second
that, like,
yellow.
or yeah, exactly, how you
It's way worse than a
explain.
loss. I'll say it.
I absolutely
Tyler Adams, Chris Richards getting second yellow is way worse than any feeling of a loss.
correct, and that's the thing is like, that that's a drawback of like you're exposing yourself when you rotate to potentially losing that game, sure. But to that point, it's way bigger deal losing a starter than losing that game. That game, losing it means nothing. You're giving me eyes like Morocco does something
I
here.
know.
Okay, never mind.
It's,
Okay.
sorry to the listeners.
Yeah.
We are Netherlands Morocco is playing right now, which is like the best game of the day so far. Which we'll get into
Yeah.
some of those results. And these two teams are just running off each other. Like no one has scored, but it's just attack
Yeah.
after attack after attack.
It honestly, how physical they've been, it's kind of like the the cartoon where you just see a bunch of like limbs and like sparks and stuff flying out of a dust cloud.
Mhm.
Like that's how this game has been playing out.
Yeah.
But anyways, so yeah, it made sense for them to rotate, and I think that the other part of this is like I've seen some takes out there like, man, I think the B team is way far off from the A team. And obviously, a performance like that can make you feel that way. My counter to that, just quickly, is that in a game that matters from now on, which is all the games, you're not going to see that B team lined up like that. And I think that a Tim Weah in position, he looked bad. I'm not trying to say he didn't look bad, but a Tim Weah in position with the real spine in place around him is going to look different than a Tim Weah who's operating on his weak foot and has to feel the weight of the team on his shoulders. Totally different scenarios. And so I think it's apples and oranges with that and saying like, oh, they look bad, they look good, whatever. I think it's you don't have the best team around you. And so you have to evaluate that a little bit differently. If that was a regular team around you, then yeah, you can make some more fair assumptions on some of these players. But I think that you can't, like, to your point, like, not a lot of takeaways. I don't think it's fair to do a lot of takeaways on any of the players, even the ones that had good days. Like, I know Sebastian Berhalter had a goal and assist. But he also, like, is a very attacking minded midfielder himself, and I think at times left us pretty vulnerable in the counterattack with wide open spaces for Turkey to work in. So all that to say, like, I don't think that you can really draw too many conclusions from this. This kind of felt like the second half of a friendly after you've made 5 substitutions is really
Yeah.
what this truly felt like.
Yeah, I think the positives you can take out of this game, Pulisic got a run at. So
Yep.
you got Pulisic to play before this knockout game, which is, I think, huge just to get him back in the playing environment. Makes you a difference. Oh, my God. I don't know how Morocco just didn't score. And then on the other side of it as well, I think, yes, like, I don't think anybody could play themselves out of probably playing time in Pochettino's eyes in a game like that unless it was really bad. But I think you saw exactly why Sebastian Berhalter is continuing to be that first guy off the bench because of what he can do on set pieces,
Yeah.
especially. Like, the corner kick was perfect to Austin Trusty, and then that rocket, like, yes, that's like kind of a fluky one, but also, like, that's the type of shot he's going to take in a set piece scenario where it's like to be able to put a ball, like, you just saw, he showcased that ability. It was like exactly why he's a weapon to come off the bench. So I think
Right.
he probably did himself favors in a game like that. And like I said, I really do think Turkey really had the ability to just say, especially at the end, like the last like 2 minutes, you could see guys on our team were just gassed and like not
Yeah.
really run after a ball. You saw Christian get nutmegged. It didn't look pretty. And Turkey was just like, this is our last 3 minutes in the World Cup. Like, we're going to put everything
Right.
at it. And you could tell there was just a mindset difference. I think one thing that a lot of people feel good about now after that game, though, Tony, is Matt Freese in net because I love Matt Turner. He's had a great MLS season. He did not do himself any favors in that game. I know that the first 2 goals, especially, like, he's put into a tough spot. It was bad defending, and he's put into a spot. You're hoping, like, I think it was either the first second, you're like, okay, he probably could have had a better effort at maybe saving that. The third one was bad. I mean, he comes out when he didn't really necessarily need to, and
Yeah.
then gets megged, and then it leads to the goal. So, I Matt Turner, I think that I think he made everyone feel a little more confident with Matt Freese in that, just based on his performance. So
Right.
I feel bad for him in that sense. But a lot of these guys, you're just happy to see them get a World Cup start, and none of that's guaranteed coming to a World Cup. Only reason it happened is because they played so well in the first 2 games. So that's the mindset they got to have. Maybe even like a spin zone, like have a little blood in the mouth before the knockout. Like, it might be a good thing.
Yeah.
Who knows? Pochettino might use that to his advantage in terms of just team prep this week. Of like, I think the tone in prep probably changed if they would have won or lost that game. Because if you win all 3 and you're probably feeling really high, and you can, as a coach, feed off that and be like, we are legit. We can do this. And now the tone's probably switched is like, see, you cannot let off the gas at any point or you're going to get punched in the mouth. Like, you cannot do it. So I think he can use that. We'll see how much it actually changes the outcome. But we're going to see a very different U.S. men's national team here against Bosnia here on Wednesday.
Yep.
Tony, before we get into USA Bosnia, I do want to touch on some other results that have happened around the World Cup. So we had the group stage end. I don't want to scare anybody, but that means 70% of the World Cup is over, which is pretty depressing.
Oh,
Um,
that's rough.
yeah. But we had some great stories in terms of teams that came out of the World Cup and made their way into the knockout fixture. Some of them, the DR Congo, like, that is an awesome story. The fact that they got out, Cape Verde getting out of their group is bananas. The
Yep.
Expanded World Cup is a result of some of these things happening, but that's why it's fun in my mind. Like, you're seeing these nations that would never have dreamed of being this scenario get a chance to play against an Argentina and play against an England in the opening round of the World Cup. And let's get into some of the knockout games that have happened. That's exactly why they can go into this and say, yes, we're not going to win the World Cup, but if we just show up and have the best game we can, we can somehow get to penalties, and you don't know what's going to happen at that point. And that's
Yeah.
exactly what Paraguay did today against Germany, Tony, because I feel like that's the only place we can start. Paraguay, who started out the World Cup with getting their butt whooped by the U.S., everyone kind of writes them off. They go on a win one, draw one, get out of the group that way, draw Germany. Everyone in the world is looking at Germany France round of 16 matchup. And here comes Paraguay playing exactly how they did in qualifiers, Tony. There was actually the thing we talked about the US
Yeah.
that we were worried about was, hey, this team beat Brazil. They beat Argentina. They beat Uruguay, all winning 1-0. Like, they know how to bunker in. They know how to do it. They know how to defend their ass off. It's not going to win a tournament, but it's going to really frustrate some of these top teams, and that's what happened with Germany. They came into this game. It felt like a little lackadaisically in terms of just like trying to break down their bunkering. Paraguay punches him in the mouth at the end of the first half. and Asensio, flying header, gets the goal. Germany gets one back. It goes to extra time. Germany gets a goal called back from a foul on the keeper,
Yeah.
and then they go to penalties. One of the worst penalty displays I've ever witnessed in my life from the Germany squad.
Yeah.
Horrendous penalty taking. Kai Havertz, one of the worst penalties I've ever seen to start a penalty taking. Like, set right center of the net. Like, if the keeper just guessed the right direction, he was going to save that ball. And then you have Jonathan Tah, Sky one. You have
Yeah. Rip it.
Bolton with another like Kai Havertz like penalty. It was horrible. And Neuer saved him. Like, they went
Yeah. Neuer
down.
kept him in. Yeah.
It was 3-1. Paraguay was leading the penalties, and the first Paraguay player misses one wide so bad. Like, this is what I'm talking about. It wasn't a
Yes.
pretty penalty taking
Right.
shootout. And then you have Neuer get this clutch save to get them back even, and then they just immediately handed it right back with Jonathan Tah skying one over the net. It was brutal. And Paraguay moves on. And it's just more of the same for Germany now. I mean, this is a team who in the most recent years of the World Cup have just gotten in their own way, it feels like, and are still like hanging on to the old generation, trying to integrate the new generation. I'd be shocked if you didn't just see a new wave of generation after this
Yeah.
World Cup,
After
Tony,
this.
where they're just going to say, hey, the next 4 years, we're preparing for the next World Cup with the new generation. Like Kimmich, like Rudiger, Jonathan Tah, like Neuer, we love you. We thank you for your service, but we're just going to reset here.
Move
And
on. Yeah.
I think that's what you're going to see. It's kind of what Brazil went through somewhat recently. Like, I just think you're about to see a transition take place, and that's going to be good for them in the long run because they do have great, exciting young talent. You didn't see Carl in this one. Musiala was injured coming into the tournament. Like, some of these young stars that were not at their peak for Germany, and it showed. And I'm just utterly shocked that Paraguay,
Right.
after that opening match, have made their way into this scenario.
I'm at a loss of words for Germany. I would think, because this is how I would hold USA. So if I'm going to hold USA like this, I would assume that Germany fans would hold Germany like this. This is a failure. This is basically getting grouped because with the new expanded format, they didn't get to the round of 16, which is what it would be like, if they qualify out of their group and move on, which I guess technically by the way that they played in their group, they would have made it there if it was a normal format, but it's not. So in my sense, this is not any improvement getting out of the group for Germany. Like they've been stuck in this getting grouped, like, hell, basically. And that's what you're talking about with like the weird in between generation spot. And sometimes like, we talk about this with the U.S. and when it came to us missing the World Cup and like, there's the players on the field, but there's also the systems behind the players, and who brought up who, where, and, all these career paths. And, it really opens up this huge can of worms. Teams like Italy, teams like Germany, I think we may be surprised by one or two more because it just does feel like some of these powerhouses really did not get up for a lot of these group stage games. These conversations are maybe like going to open up a little bit more on like we used to be the wave and now we're not. And one like thing I want to reference with this, we're watching Netherlands Morocco. Morocco is a really interesting case study when it comes to this and like how much money that they've poured into just soccer as a sport in their country. and making sure they're hosting these events. But even before that, like just giving, like building soccer fields, giving kids access, like training coaches, like all this stuff. It's very interesting. And you look at Morocco now, a smaller country comparatively, and they surprised us all at the last World Cup. We've turned them into like, okay, they're a solid dark horse opportunity this World Cup. That's a span of 8 years. That's it.
Well,
You
and
know,
in
like
between, they I guess they're the technical winners of AFCON. Like they
right.
well, like whether you see it one way or not, like we're in the final for AFCON, like a place they had not
Yes.
been before that either. So it's
And
just
and
like
AFCON's done really well this tournament too. They've had a strong showing, these African countries. So it's like that's the kind of thing where it's like maybe a little bit of the tides are starting to move on this, and like who the true powerhouses are, and the traditional ways that we know about like player progress and what's best for kids, like all that stuff. This could really open up a can of worms, I think, when we start seeing more results like this on a country level for Germany specifically, but just in general, and even UEFA possibly. So just a little thing that I crossed my mind on it.
no, it's an interesting conversation. I mean, we are in a day and age where, and this is technology more than anything having an effect on this. You have access to so many more of one talent, so much more talent from your country than ever. Like you're aware of more guys that have dual nationality more than ever. Like you have that aspect of it. You have across the board the conditioning and health like departments of all these countries have been all raised to a new level because of the accessibility of it all. Like they guys, there's just not like back in the day, like Italy, Germany, Brazil, all these countries had the talent, so everyone they naturally had money put into it. They just had an advantage off the field as well with all of like the training and all of the health related items that these smaller countries didn't have, and that gap has shrunk so much because of technology.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, like you said, like now like the training and the money going into training with a lot of these smaller countries is shrinking the gap. And then on top of that, you also have this like style of play that a lot of teams are playing now, which is a low block. Like more than ever, we're seeing the low block of course, with teams that have less talent. Like that's just a natural thing to do now. You see it all across the leagues in the best leagues in the world. I mean, you saw Arsenal play that way to an aspect against it that led them to a Premier League like title. Like it's just that is a viable option now, and people have a way of training and like formatting that way where teams are confident against these bigger teams that want to be on the ball. Like they're more confident than ever in that way, and all of those things combined can result in these type of results now. And you're seeing it more and more in major tournaments. It's becoming less shocking to see stuff like this because we are seeing it over and over in tournaments. So it's fun. I think it's good for the sport. I think the low block, like I said this to you in the pre-show, it's the story of Paraguay beating Germany, really fun. Like Paraguay's going to keep playing like this, and they're going to probably play France in the next round. And the problem with like this type of way is like if they get scored on early, like it just gets ugly. Like when the teams play like this and they just don't have the attacking talent to go forward. Even against Germany, I mean, Paraguay doesn't have an attacker that's like pacey on the field. It was like even when they got the ball to like counter, they just couldn't do it because they weren't fast enough. It came off like a broken set piece that they got their goal today, and then besides that, they never really had like a real opportunity. So it's a great story. I'm glad it happened. Everyone could kind of see it coming with Germany. We all knew that this wasn't their best squad. I just don't think we saw it this early in the tournament happening again. So.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. And one thing to conclude this conversation just on closing the gap thing is I think, too, with all these things you mentioned about, like, the technology and, like, kind of these smaller countries arising, there's been enough time to develop now, like, countries have their own way of play. They have their own, like, style. Like, obviously, we know the Spanish team is going to pass you to death, death by a million cuts. And that starts at the youth level. Like they train those kids, like always look for the next pass, 2 touches max, all those things. And with these smaller countries, like we see right now, this is how they survive, right? Is the bunker and counter. And so I think you'll see a lot of players come out of these countries that, they'll be really good on the counterattack. There'll be wingers that are awesome at getting in behind the back line. You'll see defenders that are very good at playing balls over top. you'll see those things. And I think as these countries kind of grab their foothold and grab their style of play, this is what gets exciting to me is what they evolve into after that. When they've kind of gotten that initial, like, yeah, we're a soccer country, and they get all these players in, then it allows them the freedom where they start building up their own talent pool that they don't necessarily need to
Morocco.
rely on. Yeah, correct.
Yep.
And you see them kind of become their own. And that's, I think, really cool that we're part of the genesis here with a lot of these smaller countries, them being, this is the foundation they're building of, hey, we can play ball. And yeah, it looks like counter and bunker. And obviously, I'm not, Paraguay's played soccer for a really long time. I'm not trying to say that. But, like, it's these kind of things that, like, this performance is going to inspire more kids in Paraguay. Paraguayan internationals, they're maybe on the fringe. Maybe this sways a couple people that direction. More talent. Like, it's just a huge domino effect that really unlocks a lot of things. So that's the bigger picture with what's happening with these countries. Is this is just one World Cup, but it has way more on the line than what you think.
Totally, and that bunkering and low block type of play is also common with these smaller countries that are recruiting a lot outside of their, like, people who have dual nationality that aren't necessarily playing in the youth levels with them all this whole time, like guys that are playing in different
Mm-hmm.
countries but then switch later because that's where the playing time is, and they're playing that way because it's easier to like it's easier to figure out how to play low block.
Yeah.
Like, it just
Right.
systematically is easier. So when you have a group of guys that aren't used to playing together all the time because they're being pulled in for these type of tournaments and like a last like year decision, it's easier to get everyone to buy into something like this because they don't have to spend a bunch of time together to figure it
And
out.
they're
Like,
not playing it every week like Minnesota United.
yeah,
Like
well, and
they're
it's like it's yeah, it's
yeah.
that, but like Spain, if you have the opportunity to play for Spain from a youth level up, you're staying with Spain. Like, that's just like the reality of it. Like, if you're that good, so they're
Yeah.
used to playing the Spain way, like you said. But if you're a guy, say you're built up in the English system, even like I'll use Balogun as an example. It's not exactly the same, but Balogun predominantly played in the English system and then switched to the U.S. late. Like, for someone in that scenario that isn't used to playing the U.S. way, whatever that, I'm just using that as an
Yeah.
example, if that was a certain way, like, that takes time to go and adjust because the training looks different, the system looks different, the ideology looks different, and if that happens late, like, they have to play a way that they can adapt to very easily, and a lot of times it's that low block. So you're seeing that a lot with these teams that are right around like the 20th world ranking in lower in that regard
Yeah.
of like playing in that way. So uh, regardless, super fun result. It was a great hate watch. It was a 10 out of 10. We haven't had many good hate watches so far. We
Yeah.
were all chatting. We were like, I was in a chat. People were like, these hate watches have sucked. Like, and it's getting me worried about the U.S. because they're going to be the team that's going to, everyone's going to hate watch and it's going to work.
Yeah.
We'll talk about the other two that didn't work. One being Canada. So Canada and South Africa, probably the most favorable draw of any team in the knockout stage. If you were to probably pick the weakest team, it probably was South Africa out of the group, based on how they played in the group stage. And this game came down right to the wire. I mean, a lot of people had some hot takes about how boring this game was. Like, the first knockout game was played like this, and a lot of people were like, "Are you kidding me?" But Canada gets the winner at the death. Go MLS! We get another goal in our name for this one, so that was exciting. And from a neutral, like, was I hate watching? Yes. Was I also a little bit a part of me like feel good story for Canada? Enjoyed that? Yes. Like, this is just like we say for the U.S., like inspiring the next generation. This is a moment for Canada that's inspiring the next generation of kids that are
Yeah.
watching this and going, "Holy crap, we've never done this before." They never even made the knockouts, and then they win their first knockout game ever against South Africa, and then now we're gonna have this huge moment against one of these giants that are playing currently in Netherlands and Morocco. Super exciting, good for Canada. Of course, Jesse Marsh was in the limelight for everything under the sun, kissing the Canadian badge, all these things. So Jesse's going to be Jesse. He's got to accept that for what it
Yeah.
is now. For the players in the nation, I am happy for them.
Yeah.
I don't want them to go further than the U.S., so let's clarify that. But good for Canada, good for soccer in Canada, and good for the MLS in the same breath.
Yeah. I think that sums it up pretty well. Canada deserved winners of this game. Obviously, they have flaws, but like you said, they got the deserved. We're not the deserved. The best end of the draw. They really probably could have. It's going to be a tough match coming next, whoever it is, regardless of the Netherlands or Morocco. Both those guys are going to be ready to play against someone like Canada. Interesting, really, the tidbit was Alphonso Davies came back for this game, his first minutes in the World Cup. And I think that's going to give Canada a huge boost, even just a little bit. They need anything they can get, honestly, at this point. So hopefully we see more of Alphonso Davies, if anything, coming up in the future for them. But that's all they got. It's just their knockout, just with their talent, they're running on fumes, in my opinion. Just watching this game, having trouble putting away South Africa the way they did. Like I said, deserving winners, but it was
South
tough.
Africa had some chances too.
Yeah,
They had some
correct.
chances in that game. It could have gone either way.
Right. It really could have. So good for Canada. Furthest they've ever gone in a World Cup. So, like you said, got to celebrate that. That does mean a lot for their country. And if only Jesse Marsh would just shut up, I would love that.
He loves it. He loves it. You just
I
got to
know.
know it's coming. He loves the attention.
Yeah.
Yeah, good for Canada. Happy for them. They will have a really exciting matchup here next, and so far the farthest traveled host nation in terms of in terms of knockouts so far. So good for them.
Shout out.
Great exciting matchup between Brazil and Japan happened earlier today as well. We had Japan go up early. Everyone thought that this was maybe the first upset before the Germany game that could happen. Brazil responds, and then they get the 96-minute winner. Martinelli from off a brutal turnover in your own, literally 30 seconds left in the match, and I don't remember who it was in Japan, but they just handed it right over to Brazil, and then they just clinically ate them alive in the last minute, and I felt so bad. That's just that's the worst feeling. Like Paraguay, it was. You feel bad, but they're asking to be attacked at the whole game. Japan doesn't play that way. Like Japan, yes, they'll sit back a little bit, but they were getting after it with Brazil and had chances and were trying to fight forward. And you see a team lose like that in that scenario that are an underdog, you just feel so bad for those guys.
Yeah.
They all everyone dropped. It was just depressing to watch, and a really good matchup. I think continues to highlight I don't think either of us have been super high in Brazil, and that showcases why. I just think against some of these better teams, they haven't looked as clinical and can get opened up defensively pretty easily.
Right. I mean, Morocco held them to a 0-0 draw at the beginning of this tournament. There's been a lot lacking from a Brazil team that a lot of people had as a heavyweight here. So, I mean, obviously you can only play who's in front of you. They took care of business here, just barely in regulation. But, yeah, I think you got to feel for Japan. The way that Japan always carries themselves usually makes them kind of a crowd favorite. It's hard to root against Japan unless you're playing against them, because otherwise there's crazy traffic in the box here. Okay,
Fans are cleaning the stands.
Yeah, right. The fans cleaning the stands and just their energy, and yeah, all the video clips of them experiencing America and partying and all that. It's hard to root against these guys. So it does break your heart that, they lined up with Brazil and this is just the way it shook out. But, oh man, for a blissful 30 minutes or so, we thought we were dreaming. And that was not the case. So it stinks for Japan. I think ultimately, their outlook on this tournament, they have kind of been knocked out in this part of the tournament. Now I think we're 3 World Cups in a row where they get to that, just barely missing the knockout or being knocked out in that first game. So I'm not really sure what the temperature is with the Japanese fans, other than I think a little bit frustrated. They're kind of standing in the same place and, haven't seen too much progress. So you're a little bit ahead of me, so you got to chill out with these reactions here.
Morocco just drilled the bar. Oh, Hakimi almost scored.
Oh, okay, I just saw it. And out, okay.
Yeah, so it's been an exciting knockout stage so far. I mean, we're reacting to another exciting one going on right now. So we've got a great slate coming up here on Wednesday or Tuesday when you're listening to this as well. I think there's another good set of games coming up. So we've got Mexico, another one of the host nations, against Ecuador, which is one of the most brutal draws you can get as a number one seed in your group. Ivory Coast and Norway is going to be super exciting. Two teams that are just offensively talented. It's going to be a back and forth game. Like they're going to be going after each other, and then France and Sweden should be. We'll see what version of Sweden shows up, but that one could get ugly. Like I can see
Yeah,
that one being like a 5-1 the way that Sweden's
bloodbath,
won
right?
goals so far. But you never know. We've seen Paraguay beat Germany already, so you never know who could show up and what could happen, which is the exciting part about the World Cup. Okay, Tony, let's talk a little bit about this USA game against uh, Bosnia. Excuse me.
That's right.
Sorry.
Doesn't matter who we're playing. Yeah, that's right. That's what it's.
Yeah. We're playing Bosnia, and it should be an exciting one. Bosnia, of course, is like I think they're technically lower rated on the FIFA rankings than any opponent we have faced so far. And
Oh, really?
this is a team. I mean, they were up and down in the group stage. They lost to Canada. They drew Switzerland, or did they lose? Yes, they drew
No, they
Switzerland.
drew.
And then they beat Qatar, right? Is that how it went?
I think they drew. Or did they beat Canada? Now we're all out of whack here. No, they drew Canada, lost to Switzerland, beat Qatar.
There we go. There we go. So,
Yep.
kind of like played their competition in all those levels to a degree. Like they like. I guess what I'm trying to say is they played exactly how you'd expect them to play in all those competitions. Like they beat the team you thought they would beat. They drew against the team you thought they were probably closest to in the group, and then they lost to Switzerland, who was the best team in the group, pretty convincingly. So it's a team that will get up. Like they're going to sit back a little bit, but they're going to counter, and they have like the legs to counter, similar to like an Australia almost. But they're a little bit more attacking minded than Australia will be. I really think this game comes down to just USA against themselves. Like I think they need to start exactly how they've started, which will be difficult after resting all these guys. This crowd's gonna be bananas though. Like you are going to see a nuts crowd for this one. I'm
Yeah.
super excited to see that aspect of it. And if you can get past this one, you get a Seattle home crowd again, which I think is probably the biggest weapon you could have against either a Belgium or a Senegal. But this just comes down to it. Like the expectation is you convincingly win this game, and
Right.
it's going to be. I don't even want to get into like how much of a disappointment it will be if they don't win this game because I don't even want to think about that scenario. But this is the only game you're going to be favored in probably for the rest of the tournament, and this is the one you've got to take care of business, and you've got to feed off the crowd. You've got to get going early, and you've got to just enforce your will like they have in all these games early, especially in the starters. Like that, the first half again, once again, is going to be so key for them just to show their dominance, and I really do think they'll be up for it. Like I really think if you get a Pulisic off the jump and you get McKennie back in the cam position and Balogun running, you've got guys on fresh legs too. Like these guys should be ready to go and ready to feel up for the challenge a little bit.
Yep. I agree with that. I think that in terms of matchup wise, like we're gonna see I think probably a little bit more intense of a pressing Bosnia team than what we've seen from really everybody except for Turkey, except for now we got the main guys out there instead of the backups. It's going to look like a different game than what we're used to with the games that we were, I guess, for lack of a better term, trying on. And that'll be interesting to watch. I know like one thing we talked about with Turkey and we were watching along was like, what's the resilience going to look like? What do we look like in different game states? And we got to experience that a little bit in everything with taking the lead and then getting equalized and then going down and then equalizing again and then, ultimately losing. So I think that's going to come into play here. I could just see this really being a roller coaster of a game. The way our defense has been and Australia doesn't, to me, I mean, it's clean sheet, but I don't know how real of a clean sheet is it. I don't know. I think Bosnia is going to come out of their shell a little bit, especially if, like you said, we start hot like we have so far in this tournament and poke one in early. It's going to force Bosnia to come out because we're in knockout soccer now. That
no one's playing for a draw anymore. Like,
correct, you can't play for it.
To a degree, I mean, Paraguay played for a draw every time.
but to that point, like they can't sit back. They got to go forward and get that equalizer to get that draw if they go down. So it's going to look different. Player wise, obviously, like Edin Dzeko is like the big name. He's a little bit older. Had a quieter tournament. Another player that a lot of what I've seen Bosnian fans have been a little bit frustrated with has been Barek Terovic, the New England Revolution alumni. He's a youngster that a lot is riding on his shoulders. A lot. He's kind of rose quickly from MLS ranks and went into Europe and performed well there. And he's just had a quiet tournament as well, but very skilled on the ball. And that's going to be a matchup to watch with him against Jedi. I think that a lot of the playmaking ability for Bosnia is going to come from that. So one to watch is that left side of the U.S. field, right side for Bosnia, I think is going to be big too. But this win or go home at this point. I know that I don't even feel like I'm wearing rose-colored glasses when I say that we should win this game. Like we're going to win this game. Like I am just very confident in our ability versus Bosnia and Herzegovina's, and just the way that these two tournaments have played out. I mean, like we can really simply look and say like Bosnia really choked against Canada and probably should have won, and Canada equalized late. You know, transitive property here says that we'll probably be okay then, like just with the caliber of play. But it's knockout soccer. We've seen crazier things. We would have said the exact same stuff if we previewed Paraguay and Germany, right? We're here now. So don't let it be you, basically.
The U.S., it's going to be a little more open than those Paraguay-Australia games. Like, it's not going to be as bunker-ish from Bosnia. But, like, that's also going to result in, like, the U.S. is going to have chances. Like, they will have 10 to 12 decent chances in this game, and it's about converting 2 of them. Like, that's what it's going to come down to. You just got to finish 2 chances, and you're going to win this game, is what I really feel out of it. And if you can do it early again, like, all the better. It's going to pull Bosnia out, and your counter chances are going to, like, just keep going. And, like, if you give Balogun and Pulisic space, like, and Dest, like, those guys are going to love their life. Like, that's what it's going to look like. So,
yeah,
I think that's what it's going to come down to. And it's about not getting countered. And Tim Ream or Chris Richards, like, playing a poor pass. Or Tyler Freeman. Like, these guys have got to be steady in the back, be ready for the moment. And I really do think, like, more than ever, you like in the knockouts, like you've got to feed into the crowd. Like this is the beauty of having the home field advantage.
Yeah.
It's like this crowd is going to be aware it's a knockout game. They're going to be all in the game, and if you can just get some momentum early, like they're going to be hell for these opposing teams. So I think that's probably like one of the biggest factors for me as well, and that's the fun part. Like you get the privilege to do it, that you get to be in front of these people and feel motivated by the fan base getting you that little bit of extra energy to keep it going.
That's the once in a lifetime part. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So it'll be Wednesday if they win, which God help me if they don't win. They will get the winner of Senegal and Belgium, which should be a really good round of 32 game.
Yeah.
Like those are 2 teams in my mind are pretty on par with each other in terms of talent at this point. We saw Belgium have a little bit of a letdown at times during this tournament. Senegal the same. Both bounced back to get into the knockout stage. And I think I don't really have a preference playing either of these teams. Like I'm just like maybe Senegal just because we've seen them play, and we probably would feel more confident against a team like that.
Yeah.
But I think in the end, like if you get through Bosnia, you're going to feel good. And at that point, going forward, you're playing good teams. It's the World Cup. You're going to play quality teams.
You're going to have to, yeah.
And I don't look at either of those teams and worry about the amount of chances we'll have in a game. It's just about, once again, converting those chances in the defensive end that is going to be your main concern.
Right. Yeah, that's right. It's a World Cup. We've got this far without playing the Blue Bloods. It's going to come. And I do think, like we look back at the friendlies, especially like the March ones where we played Belgium and Portugal, and we were all up in arms, right? And it just feels like a totally different team now. And the swagger which they possess, the confidence that they've had, the results that they've gotten, like it just feels
squad.
Correct. That too. Yeah, all of the above, right? And at the same time, it's been a long time since we've beaten an opponent from UEFA, and hopefully, like Bosnia is here to break that curse for us, break that streak, and they can run with it. But like we just talked about a ton this episode, like you just never know what's going to happen until the ball starts rolling, and even then, like until the final whistle blows. And it's about like I think the fight, which frankly we just have not seen in any friendly, even when we thought we had, that we now have seen in these few World Cup games. That just needs to be continued to channel, because that ultimately is what's going to make a difference, especially against when we start getting into some of these blue bloods. You got to be thinking as USA, like, this is our chance to show up on a map. Like, a random goalie from a random island got 10 million followers for one good game. Like, why not me? Why not us? And that's where, like, France, frankly, like, if we played them, we're wildly outmatched, yes. But they've been to these games so far, like, so many times now, especially recently, like a lot of those players, that the opportunity is to put your foot in the door in those games where they're saying, yeah, we've been here before. Like, any of that little, like, casualness creeps in, and that's your opportunity to make something happen. So it's not over till the fat lady sings, and I don't think she's coming on stage for a while. So I think that this is
I really hope so.
yeah.
Yeah,
I think this is going to be a fun ride.
Yeah, it'll be a fun start to the knockouts here. I really do think there's gonna be goals in this game. I don't think we're doing a shutout either, so that's why I'm putting that 2-goal marker as like you've got to hit that to feel good about your chances about winning on Wednesday.
Yeah,
so
you need that insurance goal.
it will be exciting. It will be stressful. Everything under the sun, but we'll be here to react to it on Friday no matter what. And I hope it's a fun one. I don't.
Yeah.
This soggy, sad showers. I don't want to feel that. So, well, Tony, that's going to do it for our episode here in terms of previewing. We are watching this Morocco-Netherlands game. We get to the next episode, we will, of course, react to the U.S. men's national team, which will be the biggest thing that we'll react to, but also there's going to be a lot of knockout games between now and then, and we're going to get an idea of where a lot of these teams lie. I did want to say, by the way, I did say, like, oh, it's the World Cup. You're going to play good teams if you're moving on the tournament.
Yeah.
Argentina's run is ridiculous. If you've seen their, like, string of games is, they're walking.
Yeah. There is one side of the cup that's better than the other, for sure.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Not that they're not playing, like, good teams, but them compared to the team, the gap, like, all the way to the semifinal is pretty ridiculous. So
it is nuts. And, yeah, their quarter's fine, but hey, like, Paraguay's carving out Germany on the tough side too. So, like, come on.
Yeah, maybe we won't even face Spain or Portugal. Maybe they'll just get knocked out. Yeah.
We'll have a semifinal against Paraguay. Could you imagine a rematch?
Dude, if that happened, I feel like I'd be living in the Matrix. There'd be no other explanation of what's going on. Yeah. Okay, well, let's hope we get there. But step one is Bosnia. Can't overlook them because they are a team that also got to the knockouts. You got to take them serious, and you got to beat them at home. And hopefully, the crowd. I think it's Santa Clara is where the game's at for this one. Is up for it and ready to go. And we'll be. I know the two of us will be at some bar somewhere, stressed and nervously drinking our beers. With that being said, we will see you guys on Friday. Go USA! Please don't hurt us. We love you so much. See you next time.
See ya.